If you're looking for ways to deal with your anxiety, you are in the right place. This video is for you. Let's talk. Hi there, Shannon here with Genesis Balance. If you're new here, I want to say welcome. And if you've been here before, I want to say welcome back and thank you so much for your support. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and click the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell for notifications because I don't want you to miss one moment of these videos that are designed to help you live your best life. How to deal with your anxiety. One of the very first things that you're going to need to do in order to get a handle on your anxiety is to start to identify your triggers. Now, you may be thinking, what exactly is a trigger? Simply put, a trigger is any situation or event that causes your anxiety symptoms to begin or get worse. These things are going to be different for everyone. Each person is going to have different things that trigger them. So for one person, they may have a issue with speaking in front of people, and public speaking is a trigger for them. For some people, they may have concerns about driving in a vehicle, and having to drive somewhere is a trigger for them. Personal triggers include things like certain smells, certain tastes, certain places, maybe a song. Triggers can really be just about anything. The reason certain things trigger us, usually, especially when it's a personal trigger, like a song or a smell, is that it's attached to a negative event or traumatic experience. And this is what happens often with people who are diagnosed with PTSD. Certain environments, certain smells, sights, and sounds trigger them because it is associated with a negative or traumatic event that has happened to them. So the very first step in being able to handle your anxiety and deal with your anxiety in a better manner is to know your triggers. This is going to take time. It is not always clear to us what is causing our anxiety. It's not always clear what's triggering us because sometimes the things that are triggering us are doing so on a subconscious level. So it's going to take time for you to figure out exactly what's causing it. Some ways that you can learn to identify your triggers are by writing in a journal, maybe going to see a therapist, and really being honest with yourself. So that first one, writing in a journal. This works because it gets the thoughts that are in your head out onto the paper, and you are able to purge yourself of the things that may be triggering you in a sense. Another reason why journaling tends to work is over time, as you continue to journal, you'll start to notice patterns throughout your journal entries. So maybe you start to notice that the last time you were triggered and had anxiety was while driving on the highway, but when you were driving on a rural road, you didn't have any issues. And you may start to notice that every time you drive on a highway, you start to feel anxiety. Well, that may be a good indicator that driving on the highway is a trigger for your anxiety. But that process is going to take time, and it's going to take you really being honest with yourself. So skipping ahead to honesty with yourself, the reason why I wanted to mention that is because oftentimes having anxiety is seen in a negative light. And people don't want to identify as having anxiety. They don't want to be seen by other people as dealing with anxiety, and they don't really want to see themselves as dealing with anxiety. It's not part of who they want to be. It's not part of the personality that they think of for themselves. And so it can be difficult to really have an honest discussion within yourself as to what is really causing you to feel this way. Another reason why it's so important to be honest with yourself is going back to what I said in the beginning about triggers. They are often attached to negative or traumatic events or experiences. We often don't either A, want to think about these events or experiences, Or B, we don't want to admit to ourselves that that particular situation has had such a profound effect on us that it now invokes anxiety. So it's super, super important for you to maintain honesty with yourself while you're trying to identify your triggers and not be so hard on yourself for having these triggers. And going back to my second point, I kind of went out of order, but that second point that I mentioned was actually to work with a therapist. And the reason why working with a therapist is so beneficial in the dealing with and treatment of anxiety is, honestly, simply put, we're trained to work with individuals who are going through the exact same thing that you're going through if you're dealing with anxiety. We know what questions to ask. We know what things may be indicators of anxiety, what things may be indicators of a trigger, and we may be able to see things that you didn't necessarily see in yourself. And that's when you have those aha moments in therapy, or those epiphany moments, or those breakthrough moments that you hear so much about. So working with a therapist can be very helpful, especially when you're not really able to pinpoint what exactly is triggering you. So if you are suffering through having anxiety attacks, if you're dealing with feeling anxious in certain situations and you're wondering how to deal with it, the very first step is to figure out what you are triggered by. Figure out your triggers and go from there. So make sure you come back for the future videos in this set on how to deal with anxiety, because I'm going to be getting into coping skills. What are coping skills? How to utilize them and how to find the best coping skill for you. That is the next step in kind of managing anxiety after identifying your triggers. If you found this video to be helpful at all, please let me know that by clicking the thumbs up button. And if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and remember to click the bell for notifications, because it is my goal to make sure you are getting the content and videos you need that's going to help you live your best life.